this meeting of the Brookline School Board for September 24th. We have an agenda adjustment.
We have two.
We have two agenda adjustments to make.
Okay.
Do you want me to make them?
Either way, doesn't.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to remove from the agenda Read 180. May I get a second?
I will second.
Thank you. All in favor? Excellent. And then I'm adding this. Then I want to make an agenda adjustment to add the discussion. What do we need to do?
We'll need a discussion and an actual deliberative item.
A discussion and a deliberative item surrounding the retained fund balance.
Motion. Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Fabulous. Excellent. Okay. Do you have any nominations, resignations?
I have none.
Or correspondence? We have none.
No.
That's lovely. All right, moving right on to the approval of minutes then. From the Brookline School Board meeting dated August 26, 2025, the following amendments were offered. Page 7, line 17, to insert a space between school and board. Page 7, line 21, replace may or not with may or may not. Page 8, line 33, delete we aren't certain as it is repetitive. Page 10, line 38, replace the comma with a period. Page 14, line 44, replace rules with rolls. Page 18, line 14, replace note with noted. Page 23, line 27, correct the spelling of if. Page 24, line 25, replace Corey with Berkskog. Page 27, line 10, correct the spelling of Powers.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Give me a second. All in favor? Excellent. All right.
Do we have non-public? No, I think we have non-public minutes to approve as well.
Oh, is that what this is? Yeah. Okay. Do we?
I mean, we had a non-public last time.
Okay, so can I make a motion to approve the non-public minutes from August 26, 2025?
I make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Excellent. Moving right along. Okay. I'm going to open for public input at 6:08. There is nobody here. If anybody joins us, we have got 30 minutes. We will allow them to participate. All right. Moving on to our discussion, we will go into the building goals presentation, or do you want to do the business memo first?
Building goals.
Building goals. All right.
Hold on. Did you guys want us to delay this until Jen arrives?
Oh, we could. She said she's running late.
I know. I wonder if she thinks it's going to be at 6:35.
We can wait. We can wait a few minutes.
We can move on to Lauren's conversation of the
Sure.
LEA.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Yep.
We like Jen to be here. So.
That's fine. We can wait for Jen to be here. I'll push the building goals to the end of the discussion. That's fine. So, Lauren, you're doing LEA?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So this big binder, which you have the PDF in your packet, this is our Special Education Policies and Procedures Manual. So this is updated every year, but this past year, we decided to do a major overhaul of it. This is truly every single law, procedure, practice, policy, form that we use in the special education world. In your plan, you see a lot that is hyperlinked. The binder has all the components. Oh, thank you. Oh, that actually echoed. The binder has all of the hyperlinks actually printed out. So if you look, we have all the tabs here. This is housed in the SAU. If anybody ever needs to come and see it in person, or if any member of the public ever wants to see it. It's also posted on our website, so it's all there. I want to thank Christine Height, my assistant director, who took a role in getting into all the minutia and nitty gritty. This has not been truly overhauled since probably 2017. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we had every single portion thorough and up to date. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take any. There's a lot of reading. A lot of it is right out of RSA and law. But then you'll see more specific pieces to our SAU towards the back in the appendices, our program placements, our own individual forms, all those components. So there are some pieces that are unique to us, and then the rest is the overall state and federal law that go into special education.
Awesome.
That's it.
Maybe you kind of already explained this, but like, were there particular things that got majorly overhauled from how they've been in the past?
Updates to some RSAs that maybe were not kind of dug into. There were some pieces with grants that were able to be made more readable and clear in the binder. I wouldn't say that it was really overhauled for readability and for, believe it or not, conciseness, shockingly, and really the way that the overall manual was organized. We really wanted to make it as user-friendly as possible
Okay.
for a bunch of different pieces.
Were there any new like RSAs that got passed that needed to be added to this?
Not for us. Everything has been up to date for law. All the legal pieces that pertain to any changes are always updated. Our own programs were always updated. And our forms have been updated recently for some functionality and some different reasons. So those are all now printed out and put in here as well. And making the manual, so back in 2017, it was not really hyperlinked. A lot of how it was formatted was not friendly to kind of move into the electronic world, so we made it very user-friendly.
Oh, this is great.
So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's a
thank
lot.
you. Yeah.
Did you guys find the typo in it?
I know, I'm like, did you guys read it from cover to cover?
I'm just saying, I see it's 82 pages of policy and procedure, so.
And printed, it's
I'm
about
scanning, I'm
I think
scanning.
it's about 460 something printed, so it's all there, so it's good.
There isn't a typo, I'm just saying.
No, there's not. I hope not.
If there is, redo the whole thing. Thank you, we appreciate that. Are there any other questions or thoughts on that? Okay, excellent. Gina, co-op study.
Okay.
You've got some information for us?
Sure. So if you recall, there was on the 2025 warrant, there was an article put forward by the board to engage in a study to see, pros and cons of having the Brookline School District join the co-op and what that would entail and what that would look like financially. So we, at this time, finally have some communication from our attorneys as to guide the process. We already, in our reorganization meeting, appointed some members, but this would be a formal appointment. The direction would be today, if we could have 2 members formally appointed, and then it gives us a timeline of what work should be done, by whom, and how we would then report back to the board what our findings were.
Okay, did they give any indication of like how heavy of a lift or role it would be for the board members involved?
Yeah, so I think, no, and I think it would be as heavy as the committee wanted it to be. Certainly, some of this is going to take some time to do some research, so I would imagine it would look like monthly meetings with homework.
Awesome, okay. So at our reorg meeting, think Tracy, you were on the club. Are you interested in still doing that?
Yeah,
You
yeah. I would love to do it if it's all right with everyone else, just because doing the facilities, I think it kind of goes hand in hand.
Agreed. Is there, and we can have 2, right?
And I think
So-
was Lynn the other one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would love to not do it.
Okay, then, are you interested in participating in that? Especially
When
with
does
your,
that start? Because I'm on the budget. I don't know, like.
It won't.
How long does? Yeah.
It won't.
Oh, it's 27. Okay.
I promise. The SAU budget one is, I promise it's not a huge
That's a
lift.
quick one.
That's a
Oh,
quick
that's
one,
a
it's not a
quick
huge
one.
lift,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you interested?
I'm
Willing?
open. What?
Willing, interested? Don't feel
Yeah.
don't feel
I'm willing-
pressured?
No, I think it's kind of an interesting
Okay,
project.
perfect.
So yeah, I think
Well,
it's a
Alright, then that would,
intriguing.
awesome.
Thank
Then, yeah, then we'll appoint
Very good work.
Tracy and Lynn to that.
Great.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question about this one?
Yeah.
So, is Hollis, maybe this is a question, but is Hollis kind of doing the same type of survey?
No.
Okay,
And
it's
so-
just Brookline becoming part of the co-op, but like Hollis, at least for now, is outside of the study.
Yeah, so we can't control what Hollis
Right.
does.
Oh, right.
And we can study all we want, but then co-op would have to agree to
Take us.
take us.
Sure,
Right.
yes.
So there, a lot of things have to happen, and this I think oversimplifies it to some degree.
Okay.
But Hollis, just anecdotally, board members have said that they're not necessarily opposed to the idea, but certainly you guys do the legwork and figure out
Right,
what that
okay,
looks
that's what
like.
I was, okay.
That's kind of how the conversation, I think,
Yeah.
anecdotally went, was that if we were to show the interest in, kind of take the lead, that they would be interested in following along at some point and seeing what the impacts are, pros, cons, all that stuff. So
Okay, thank you.
there's not a straight, we would never be interested. It's a, let's see how it flushes out. Since
Right.
you guys are gonna do the
Well,
homework.
because it does say here that like, purpose of the study is to, for all Hollis and Brookline students, so we would not.
Yeah, and so
that
that's
would
just a
be-
memo from our attorney, but the warrant article was specific to
Specifically
Brookline.
for
We can't really,
Oh, yeah.
do
but I
anything
just wanted to make
for
sure that
Hollis,
that
yeah.
language wasn't gonna like mess, like, set.
yeah.
So I have a question about this.
Sure.
So, now that the study committee has, and it looks like they need to meet by November 19th.
Mhm.
That's bolded, so I assume that's what they need to do. So then what are the steps after that? So like, I mean, lots of like report, it's fine, but it doesn't tell me how they're getting the findings. I guess that's what I'm curious about. So like, because
Right.
I know I've heard in the past we've like hired a vendor, right, to do the study.
So-
or-
Yeah,
like,
and
I'm
so we
curious how
said,
that-
in the language of the warrant article, it said that we would not spend more than $10,000, and we weren't going to create a new line item for it. It was gonna come from the general fund. So the idea is, we're not hiring an expensive person because that would fall
That's
into the
fair.
$10,000. But I know all the things that we have to consider.
Okay.
And so I have individual, people to consult to try to dig into this. So we would probably delegate some of the work and have, a committee member focused on getting the answer to this piece,
Okay.
and then pull it together.
Okay.
And is this kind of taking into consideration having a because I do see it, bear with me here, to present this, for example, at like town meeting, like a year and a half from now? Is that right?
Potentially. I mean, we
Okay.
would have a report by the end of the school year, and then the board could sit on that and contemplate
From there.
how to move forward. But it's such. I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, but I feel like the board wanted to do something because for the past decade, various members of the governing board have said it would be so much easier if we were one school board. It would be so much easier. But we've never done anything about it.
Yeah.
So it was like, let's just actually study it.
So it was a combination of things. It was, yes, it would be easier, but then from a financial standpoint, it was, what does it look like to have between all three? What does that look like financially? What is that impact of if we share subs across both towns, right? On days when we've got big needs and maybe another school doesn't, maybe it's easier to pool. But also, this came up because particularly when we were talking about some of the administrative overhead, the town's not really understanding that our administrators, the SAU, carry the load of three because it's three different districts. And so trying to, when a lot of conversations about contracts and salaries and whatnot were coming up, there was a lot of explaining to the towns of like, they're doing everything in triplicate, and this would perhaps also save in that arena too. So there's a lot of, kind of obvious benefits. There may be some not so obvious pitfalls in it. There may be some not obvious pros and cons. So I think it's just good to look at. I think that conversation's kind of happened multiple times over the years.
So is this committee gonna, I open this can of worms, is this committee gonna be diving into what would be needed to amend the apportionment? Like, would that be part of the study?
Oh, I think you're way ahead of yourself.
no,
but yeah,
that's what I'm
but
I'm trying
that's
to
a
get
good.
an
It's a good
understanding.
question.
Okay.
No, they have nothing to do with each
Okay,
other. That's
so
a different
that would be-
component of the Articles of
okay.
Agreement. This would look to step by step, like way down the road, the co-op would have to have a special district meeting where they amend the Articles of Agreement, and that amendment would be to include K to 12 or pre-K to 12.
Okay, so I think my question, just kind of thinking it through, is that might be important information for people to know before they.
Well, that's why so
So
all of
that's, I
those
guess, what I'm trying to
steps
figure out.
would be part of what's presented as a final product. Like,
Okay.
not only these are the pros and cons, but these are all the steps that would have to go through to
Yeah,
get
no,
there.
I just want to make sure that, like, as a voter, I particularly would want to know the answers to this, like, that question, and, like, how is it going to shift, on the facilities, but also how is it going to shift financially? So I just want to make sure that if that's something we need to get an answer to this year, it sounds like it's not, but I just want to make sure that we're thinking about that if we do, because I think that would be one of the first questions we get at any sort of presentation is
Sure.
that
Yep.
financial piece.
And awesome. I think that this is a great idea and definitely was on board. I just was kind of getting an idea, like if these dates that were embedded were focusing on, being able to make a recommendation for a certain period to be able to move it forward, or basically to kill it, right? You know what I mean? So that's all I was asking. But nope, this is awesome.
Great. More to come, and we can have periodic updates.
Who will be the point of contact? Like, I mean, who do we contact to start? Like, who are we?
You're looking at her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I
So
don't know
you'll
if,
hear
like, the
from me.
attorney or if, like,
Yeah,
you know.
you'll hear from me.
Hey, is that really what his signature looks like?
Isn't that lovely?
I'm like, that's like a doctor's signature.
All right, anything else surrounding the co-op study? All right, we have a facilities committee update. Is that Tracy
Yep.
or Gina?
Oh, either one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the facilities committee met. It was a good meeting. Tracy was there. Daniel, I've been pronouncing his name wrong for many, many years, but Koenig was there representing the finance committee. Brian Rader was there representing the select board. Business administrator Lance Filmino was there. Director of facilities Lance Finnemore was there. I was there, and Dan was present. And so we talked about the charter. We talked about the purpose of like what we were doing. We looked over our capital improvement plan as it stands and what we've been able to accomplish thus far, what we still have like slated in the future to do from the capital improvement plan, but yet it's still in fiscal year 26. And then, there were some big conversations and discussions, and then we decided the best thing to do moving forward was have Dan get a headset and put on for us a historical guided tour through the schools of Brookline.
I will be. I'm preparing.
No headset, but we'll really go through all the
So
nooks
he
and
has to do
crannies.
without a headset. is
Yeah,
what I'm hearing.
yes, of the schools, and they're open to the public, so anyone can join us for this tour. We're starting at RMS at 4 p.m. on October 1st, I believe it is. It's on the
As
charter.
long as you stay off the roof, Dan, I don't.
And so then everyone can have a better understanding of what it is that we're talking about when we're looking at the capital improvement plan. So that's where we are. This charter was updated just with some names, some typos. We realized there was already a Brookline Facilities Committee in town, so we amended it to Brookline School District Facilities Committee just to clarify. And that was pretty much it for feedback for changes.
Any questions, follow-up, wonderings, concerns? Okay.
Should we go back to the?
Let's finish the section and I'll go back to the principal's report. The New Hampshire School Board Delegate Assembly. I left this on here. I know when we last met, Heather and Lynn were going to get together, look at the call for resolutions. I also know the date had changed, so I left it on here just so you could kind of update. I did.
Okay.
Well, no.
Okay. Well, okay, so no worries. So what we're gonna do is we don't have anything to talk about today. Does sound like Lynn may be interested in going. I cannot attend. We will be away that weekend. So we're gonna talk about that, and then we do have a school board meeting before the October 25th delegate assembly. So if she can attend, what we'll do, Allison, is we'll put this on the next agenda, and we can run through the recommendations at that point.
That works.
Yeah. I have to move a couple things, so
Just
it
so you
just
go.
depends if I can get them switched and whatnot.
But
so
we'll get together and, present that if necessary at that time.
Perfect. So I'll
That's
tell you what,
great.
we'll just add it to the next agenda for now. Let's just plan on having that.
Yep.
And then we can always do an agenda adjustment to remove if necessary. Awesome. And then last, let's do the retained fund balance, and then
Sure.
we'll backtrack to the principal's report.
Okay, so this is a memo that typically comes a little bit earlier. It usually comes in our August meeting, but because we were so down to the wire, we're seeing it now in our September meeting. So essentially, we are finalizing the audit with the last little receipts here and there, but we are looking at approximately $250,000 in a fund balance. We did not have to go into the retained fund balance from last year, and we did not have to go into the special ed trust, even though you gave us permission to do so that we would make sure we ended up in the red. So we didn't end up needing either of those. The business administrator is recommending that we retain up to $250,000. And that is just under what we're what the board has legally authorized us to do, which is the 2% of the budget. And I think it's important to do so. If you recall, this $250,000, the retained fund balance can be used only by a public hearing and a vote by the board to use for emergency types things. So we know that Dan has quite a few things in his building that might go at any time in terms of some of the aging systems. So being able to have access to these funds on an emergency basis would certainly help us out. Also, as we move forward in the budget, and we do have some contracted paras that were budgeted as paras, not contracted paras. So we're starting the year in not the best spot financially. So this would also allow us to level out at the end of the year if we weren't able to,
Roughly how many paras do we have that are contracted that we didn't have?
6.
Wow. Okay, so
How many do we contract? How many do we plan for? Contract
0.
pairs?
zero. So how did we get from 0 to 6?
So we never want to contract a para
Yeah.
because they cost 3 times as much as
Yeah.
hiring our own para. So our special ed administrators, they're either in meetings or interviewing for paras pretty much all year round,
Valid.
and or obviously other things. But we work really hard to hire our own, but we just have a difficult time hiring paraprofessionals for between the wages and the lack of health insurance benefits that are offered. It's difficult for us to attract the right folks for those positions. So they're in the budget as positions, but when we can't fulfill those legally mandated needs, we have to then contract out.
Okay.
Where are the contracts from? Who's?
Well, and I just want to chime in on one other piece of that too, is that also when we plan the budget, we're planning the budget, as you know, almost 18 months ahead of time. So there are also needs that arise over the course of a year that we don't have necessarily budgeted. So we may have more paraeducator needs come the start of a new school year. So there's a few contracting agencies that we work with to to contract with different paraeducators, and we do interview and vet those paras as well as our own pool of applicants. So it isn't like we're just accepting any contractor who we, connect with. We do interview and we are discerning through that process also. So one of the companies that we work with is White Birch. And then we go through a kind of an umbrella company, Blazer Works, that works with different contracting agencies and creates pools of para candidates.
So is that 6 contracted pairs over both buildings?
Correct.
Okay. So, because I know when we've asked about like staffing, like RMMS, we were told, I thought that they were fully staffed,
Other than paras.
other than para. Okay, see, I had thought that we had pairs. No, okay.
I can't remember the last time we
So, in our principal's report, I think it still shares, I think it still lists that, we're 2 paras short, that those have been contracted.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna meet it says 2 and 2.
No, that's right. I was just kind of surprised, like how we went from budgeting for 0 to 6, having 6. I think I just didn't.
So the
pull it.
positions are in the budget,
Right, no, I got that.
but we never budget for a
For
contractor.
right, because your goal is to hire in-house.
Right.
So I think I'm just trying to understand, my brain is just trying to understand, like, okay, so we had 6 para positions, how much more over what we budgeted are we paying?
We're paying 3 times as much per person.
Can you give me a general
So-
number?
So we're paying about $75,000 for a contracted para, for one. It
No, I just
depends
want a
on,
general number.
because they're the
Benefits.
extended day ones.
Okay.
So, and it would have been around 22,000.
So we budgeted 22,000 and we're paying, okay.
That's why we've been struggling the past 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the many reasons, but, yep.
So that
And
will
Joanne,
be
I
up-
think the biggest thing is, back to Lauren's point, is we budget like a year, we budget for these, but it was last year, and then over the time, we're either getting new students or there's new referrals, so all that's
Yeah,
changing.
no,
you know?
I completely understand the need
Yeah.
for paras, like, I get that we need to meet compliance, and I wasn't aware that, like, there was that much of a discrepancy. Now I am, so I'm just gonna sit with that for a minute and figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I believe, I feel like Tracy spoke to it last year at the deliberative session.
Yeah,
And,
we all did.
it Hollis faced it as well, and we talk about it every time that we have a revenue expense report that doesn't look pretty. But it's really when you sit down and think about it, oh my goodness, for every one, this is how much we're spending. And so it's September, and we're not starting the year financially great because we know that we're overspending in those lines.
So question, I'm sorry.
No,
real
no,
quick.
go ahead.
So, just to be clear, so we're paying about $50,000 more per para, right? And we budgeted for 22,000 each, so 6 times 50, it's 300. Does that come directly out of this?
No. So
Oh,
what we
okay.
do is we, you know, to Lauren's point, we budget 18 months in advance. And our next meeting, we're going to start to look at some of the new items that we're going to be looking at for the FY27 budget. We do our very best to figure out what we're going to need. Some of them are estimates. We don't know how many substitutes we're going to need to hire in a given year. We don't know how many. I vote for no snow removal, but sometimes we still get snow. And so we have a line for snow removal. We have a line for all these things.
Right.
And as we go throughout the year, you know, on a light year, we don't get that much snow. And so we underrun that line. So then there's money in the general fund that we always look to our general fund first before we start talking about these other funds. As we get to the springtime, you know, and we're looking at the revenue and expense, we're thinking, hey, giving you a heads up, things are, you know, we're in the red. Giving you a heads up, we might need to go tap into this special ed trust, or we might need to tap into the retained fund balance, whatever. And then in our June meeting, we have a public hearing saying we are going to need to go into the special ed trust, or we're going to need to access retained fund balance. And that's what we did this June, and we voted to allow us to do so. But then bills are still, just because the year ends on June 30th, you know, we're still processing bills and what things carry over, what things don't. Then our audit is done in August, and they look at every single transaction. And so when all is said and done, we realize where we actually are. Because you have some money encumbered and you're not sure if the bill's gonna come. And then, you know, finally it's like, release that money. So this year, we released, there was about plus or minus $300,000 that was released at the end of June into July. And some of those are based on, you know, changes in student needs. Some of those are based on changes in teacher needs or teacher requests. Like they were gonna do these graduate courses and then they chose not to. So then that money is released. So lots of things are happening at the end of the year, which makes that dollar amount fluctuate. So that might mean, which is this past year, we thought we were gonna need to go into the retained fund balance because last year we had the same number of contracted paras, but we were able to just use the general fund.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
Just a clarifying question, so
Yeah.
that, just because I know we also have some new board members.
Sure.
If we don't agree to retain $250,000 here, where does that money then go?
so we say it goes back to the taxpayers, but no one's getting a check in the mail. It just reduces the tax rate.
Okay. And if we do use all this, then how do we refill it? Is it then raised by taxes
So-
at that
so
point? Or just
we've
to
already-
be clear?
yeah, so
Or
the
does the
FY
general fund feed into it, or
a
how do,
great
you know?
So the FY25 budget was, you know, approved by the voters. We got the money. We went through the year. So this money was already taxed.
Sure.
So it's sitting, theoretically, just sitting in a bank. And the question is, do we hang on to it, not spend it, but hang on to it in an emergency account that is protected by a public hearing? Or do we just give it back to the taxpayers? Another thing to note is whether or not we give money back to the taxpayers impacts our tax cap calculation for as we're building the FY27 budget.
Sure.
So there are a lot of different pieces to this that have impacts on where we've been and impacts on where we're going. Obviously, like I said, my recommendation is to authorize us to retain up to, and I say up to 250 because it might end up being 245, 625 or something. And that way we have, knowing that we're starting the year sort of in the negative, that gives us a little bit of wiggle room because we don't have a contingency fund this year. We have nothing to help us out if the budget gets extremely tight. So it's, you know, it goes back to the taxpayers eventually. We can only retain it for 1 year.
Okay. I guess I was just asking, like, if we were to tap into this whole thing and spend all of whatever we have, you know, and then we did want to retain up to the 250, you know, and refill you know.
You're asking how this gets refilled later if we were to spend
Yes.
it. Okay, so it would be like a similar scenario. So like next year's budget, if there was
Okay,
money left over,
understood.
we could then vote to put it back in. I do
gotcha.
believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there have been times in the past, maybe, where we've had a warrant article to fund a balance. No, it's a different balance.
Is it- yeah.
There's too many.
Yeah,
never
but
mind.
retained
that
fund,
one.
it's just like when all is said and done and we funded all the warrant articles, this is where we stand. Do we give it back or do we retain it? If we don't
Gotcha.
use it, so
Understood.
for example, last
That
year we
makes
retained
sense.
140,000.
Right, okay.
So we didn't use it. So it just fell to the bottom of the general fund. Like it's just part of the balance now. So you can think of it as like we gave the 140,000 back and now we're asking you to take it again.
Okay, got it.
So it's like we
That makes
can only
sense.
borrow
Yep,
it for 1
makes
year.
sense, makes sense.
Whereas the town has the authority to hold on to money as long as they want. The school district does not.
Understood. Okay.
Any other questions or wonderings about the
No,
fund
no,
balance?
I just wanted to make sure we really understood about the contract, you know, the contract positions versus the staff positions. Lynn had mentioned that it was, you know, about 50,000 or $53,000, you know, extra between that difference. So that comes out to $318,000.
I was gonna say my ref, yeah. that was-
I think that's a huge, and I'm just really trying to say that so that we're aware of this expense. You know, we put so much effort into finding the paras and all of that process, and it's something that, you know, can't be helped. But I just want everyone to be aware that that's, you know, that's even more than this like 2%.
That's a huge number.
Yeah. So just to make sure everybody's aware.
And if you want an exact number, just so you know, what we currently have encumbered for a contract of powers is $335,000, just so you know what the actual number is right now, should we have to keep all of those powers for the year.
That's
So it's a
over what
separate
we
line
budgeted
item.
for.
That's, no, right now we're paying $335,000, so we have budgeted a third of that.
So,
Yes, Jen?
I was just gonna say, can you hear me? This is happening all over the state. There was just an article, in the Nashua School District, that there's fewer and fewer people interested in these roles. So districts across the state are contracting to fill these roles, and this is the challenge. And I think some districts have more appealing, you know, bargaining units or whatever, where they're able to attract paras, but we're just not able to get any applicants at this point. But I just wanted to share that it is a statewide issue right now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I think it's especially important too to let everyone know that we are negotiating our contract this year for that include the para educators, and it's something for us to really keep in mind when we're negotiating that contract. I think the difference of having somebody who is here all the time, working with the kids, you know, and being a part of the district versus, you know, hiring someone that would be great and lovely, but not part of the community for maybe more than 6 months or a year.
And I think to go off of that, though, also from a cost perspective, it actually might be lower cost just to be able to get to a good place where we're giving them the benefits needed or the wages needed. It'll probably still be less than what we're paying a contractor, right? And
Yeah.
then getting that benefit that you just spoke about too.
it will, we're just gonna have to be mindful of the tax cap, because that's gonna be what comes back to bite us.
Okay. All really good points.
Oh, Lynn
Just
has a
one more
question.
quick question, just
Yes.
to clarify so it's a federally mandated position,
Yes.
right, correct? And is there any funds that come from the state to supply for federally?
What are we talking about?
Special education is
For these para
No, it's
positions?
generally an unfunded
To
mandate,
support-
right?
So, Lauren, you can speak to it, but I think we're mixing up some words a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so we have IDEA grants, okay, so we have grants for
Those are
special
federal.
education, which is a federal grant. But we can spend that money and apply for grants to be used in multiple different ways. We could use it for this piece.
Okay.
I mean, so there's different factors. So,
Okay.
we do get a certain amount of IDEA money that can be used for special education.
Understood, okay.
And then I think you were talking about the reduced percentage that the state is reimbursing for.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. But that's a reimbursement that's well after the fact, and only
don't know what you're talking
certain
about.
expenses above a minimum are eligible for for us to submit for reimbursement.
Yeah, so the other aid that we get is called special education aid. So for students whose whose programs cost over a certain amount of money, this year if it costs over $75,000, this is not position specific, we're just talking about the money that we get back. So when students' programs cost X amount of money, over what the state deems to be a cap, we'll get a percentage of that back in reimbursement, but we get it back a year and a half later from that.
Okay.
But so those are the two different types of kind of aid or grants that you
Well, and
would
then I
see
think
as revenue in our.
Sometimes we reimburse for Medicaid, right? Are we still doing that?
Medicaid reimbursement's a whole separate
That's a whole separate
piece,
thing.
but yes, which wouldn't have anything to do with
With, like,
positions
the
or student
positions.
programming on that same level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special education is generally very mandated and very underfunded.
Right, well, that's what I'm trying to make
Seems to
clear,
be the
is
thing.
like, this
Yeah.
is a required, so
Yeah.
when we get to this point down the road,
And-
it's clear that we have no choice to do this, and it's not funded, right? Like, it's not a funded,
Correct, we have to do it, and if we're needing to pay 3 times more than what we're budgeting for, and bring it back to the retained fund balance, if something else catastrophic happens, like to our buildings, we there's no cushion,
Yeah.
right? Because we're
Sure.
already starting the year, so, all of
Right.
that then to say, are there any other, bring it back to the retained fund balance, or any other questions or concerns about this? Okay, then, can I make a motion now? On this, so, or do I have to wait for
Oh,
deliberations? I'll
Let's wait for deliberations to
Okay.
make it clean, sorry.
All right, any other questions, or, this is a really good and healthy conversation, I appreciate it.
I just wanted to just ask or remind me one thing. The portion that the state is reimbursing us is going down. Is that true?
This special ed aid this past year, yes, was funded at about 66%. There was recent information given that they're going to be minimally funding it 80%. I think it was 80. I'm looking at Jen too. We're both reading the same. So I believe it's going to be 80%. They're going to be trying to guarantee districts get 80% of what should be 100% back. So we'll see.
Okay.
But that'll be from this, so this special ed aid ends July 31st. So that won't be till next year to see that year's amount. Just so you know.
Thank you.
Listen, any other? Okay. All right, I think that was all we had for our discussion
Yeah.
portion. All right, so, because we're waiting for, to have everybody here, we're gonna backtrack now to the, principal's report. I believe you guys are focusing on your building goals, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Floor is yours.
Good evening. We're first going to start with the principal's report because I think that was first on the
Yeah.
agenda. So for tonight we have we call it the MD squared team. Myself, Mr. Miller, Mrs. Doloff, and Mrs. Peterson. But we've had a great start to the school year. We're starting the year off in Brookline with the exact same enrollment we started off last year with, which was 554 students. At RMS, just some key dates to be on the lookout for. We have the Lions Club comes every year, and we're very fortunate to have them support our school at both RMS and CSA. They do the vision screenings for all students, so that's going to be happening in October. Additionally, we have an evacuation drill in October. The whole school does an evac drill. It's part of our emergency operation plan where we evacuate the building and we go to an off-site location to practice our reunification. And our staff does a great job with it. Our students do fantastic. In addition, starting mid-October through mid-November are the parent-teacher conferences. So be on the lookout for those signups. It's a good mid-year or a good mid-trimester check-in with the classroom teachers. And then on Halloween, we're excited to share that we will have our annual Halloween parade. So those are some fun events to be looking forward to at RMS.
Great. Our enrollment has stayed pretty consistent as well. I think it's maybe off by 1 or 2 kids. It's been a really great opening. We got some cool dates coming up. A lot of them I've mirrored Dan's. Dan's been such a great help mirroring Dan's emergency drills. So I'm doing mine off of his calendar as well, a couple days before or after his. So he's been a great help with that. We have a very special event coming up in October, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. You're going to hear about it very soon. So I'm just going to leave you hanging with that wonderful thing there at the end of October. So I'll leave you with that.
I am excited.
Dan's
So
like,
exciting, Jan.
I didn't even tell Dan yet.
I did?
Yeah.
That's great. So you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so tonight we have a slideshow that we put together for all of you just to kickstart our school year. And we will start right here. So welcome back, everybody. This was working. Rich, you were there? You wait.
Wow.
What? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Sorry, Rich. There's this last time I was looking at you and you're. Sorry, go ahead.
The next time your computer breaks, you're gonna.
He's not.
Yeah.
I'm like, Meg, you
Rich.
got the screen.
How's that bus?
I know. Right?
Meg can be Vanna.
Meg, you got
No,
it.
she does not want to. I will do that.
if you
I will
take
do
it,
that.
do it.
I will do that.
I'll do
If you
it.
swipe
He
over
does
with your mouse and touching the screen.
Ugh, I'll do it.
No,
I'm
no,
wearing
no.
my blue jade
There is a
green
mic
tonight.
there, just use that mic towards your Dan.
That's not gonna work.
That's not gonna work. Everybody, this is Rich Raymond. He's a fantastic tech specialist student.
Who is not sleeping?
Yeah,
It's because his head was down like this.
who's just currently cleaning the bus marks out.
I don't think it's, oh.
Now try.
You are so good. Thank you.
There we go.
It's
All right.
it was on your computer awesome.
Nice, good job.
All right, that was it.
Thank you.
Great. So we worked before the school year started and created a mission and vision statement. And I think what we wanted to do was really focus on the whole child. And I think when you look at this, it really is grounded in the whole child and what they represent and what they can become and their potential. You know, I'll read it, but consistent with the mission of SAU 41, we will ensure a strong, supportive learning environment focused on academic excellence. And then the vision statement, with our focus on the whole child, we foster capable, confident, lifelong learners who will serve as productive citizens in a global society. We are passionate about creating an environment that supports a love of learning, embraces active intellectual engagement, and promotes high expectations for all. And I think both of those really encompass, from what I can understand in my short time here, of what the community you know, wants children to become and how they envision the whole child as well. So I really like that mission and vision statement very, very much.
Well done, Jess.
Thank you, Dan.
Moving on. So both schools have a highlight slide to show. So for RMS, we had our annual flag pole ceremony. It was great. I think I showed this last time. We had all of our new students introduced, kindergarten, new staff, and then we usually have Wings the Blue Jay out there. Sometimes we have some special guests, and we had this year Dr. Flaherty, who came and visited us that day, so that was great. But it's a great way to get the whole school community out there on the second day of school. We're excited to share that we've started environmental science. It's one of our new unified arts, and it's going great. Mrs. Alfam, who was previously a third grade teacher here and a second grade teacher, she's loving the role. She's really highly engaging with the students. The students are looking forward to it each week going. She's been taking the kids outdoors. They've been going to beyond our building a little bit, doing some going into the garden, in the classroom. So she's done a great job so far, and we're looking forward to seeing how that work goes. We had a wonderful group of Blue Jay Awards already shared. We had like 75 last week. We had another 45 this past week. So students are really adhering well to our standards and our expectations at the school behaviorally, and our teachers are doing a great job of creating the connections with the kids in the classroom during morning meeting, trying to create good relationships, showing them how to do routines in the classroom, how to walk the hallways, how to go to the cafeteria, how to behave in the playground. So really that's a tribute to the staff, but also to the students for following the school-wide expectations. All of the staff, all the classroom teachers did a Constitution Day lesson. That was last Wednesday, and that's just a federal requirement for all of our schools to do. And if you look at our Instagram page, you'll see some, like a little post about that. One of our first grade classes, actually all of them did, like little feather pens, and it was great. Good. And then open house, we had a great showing of families. We really like the format, and hopefully families feel the same way. We've received good feedback. The staff like it, and I think it allows our students to feel empowered and get a chance to highlight their school to their parents and their other siblings by touring them around the building, participating in the scavenger hunt. It allows the parents to kind of see the students' day, you know, by being with their kids on that night. So we had a great open house, great showing. And then we're excited to share that we got approved to do our new rock wall. We're going to be hopefully installing that by the winter time. We were hoping to do it sooner. If you haven't seen our gym, it's been newly painted this summer. The two walls, we have like an accent wall. We've taken down all the acoustic panels so that we could prepare for this rock wall. But it's going to be a great feature to have at our building. Mr. Mars is excited because he can now teach a lot of the skills that the kids are trying to do outside on the playground during gym class, which is great, to help ensure the safety of all the students. And I want to thank the PTO because they've been a huge supporter with this project. They've raised a good sum of money to help us with the funding of that. And also Mr. Mars has some funds that he received through like Jump Rope for Heart, and we have some money through that, but mostly the PTO is to be, to show our appreciation for that. So those are some of our RMS highlights. Oh, and I forgot to mention the middle one is whole school recess. So each morning we try to do a whole school recess, and if you do car line, you'll see the students going right outside. And it's really a good opportunity for our older students to be leaders to the younger students, and for the younger students to have some role models to look after. And it's really cute seeing our third graders playing with our kindergartners, or our second graders playing with the what have you. But it's a great time of day because the students, it allows all students to enter the classroom at the same time, because normally when students get off the bus, we've worked together for a few years now, so I know. I felt her. I'm sorry. Oh, that sounds so much better. Wow. So if you look at carpool and buses, students arrive at different points in the day into the classroom, but through morning recess, all students are entering the classroom at the same time, right? So that they're all able to start morning work at the same time, what have you. The other piece that this allows is it allows the students to activate their brains and get their bodies moving before they go into the classroom. And it's allowing our teachers to have opportunities to collaborate together, because we're trying to provide all students with a common experience throughout the day. So,
So Dan, I just have two.
yes.
So with environmental science, is there a place where we can like look at just like what the general curriculum is?
Yeah, so part of it is it's still in its, I would say, initial beginnings, like, because it's a new program to us.
Yeah.
And I will say that Mrs. LaFlamme is partnering a little bit with the environmental science in Hollis. But that will be something we can share more, like highlights throughout the year. Absolutely.
Brady wanted to know because
Oh,
he's like,
sure.
what is environmental science? I was
Yeah,
like, so
yeah. I
that's
mean,
a cool
it's
bit.
a little mix of
Yeah.
different
That's what I
top-
figured, but it might be nice if we had like a place where people could just kind
Yep.
of go and be like,
Yep.
what is the? And then in terms of like the whole school recess, is that something like, are there accommodations that are made if people are finding that overwhelming? Is that something that all children are expected to attend?
So one accommodation we did do at the beginning of the year, and that's a great question, is kindergarten felt that because it was all the students were new to our building, that they wanted to do a slow, like a gradual process to it. So the kindergartners didn't start morning recess until I think after the second week of school. Like we did the 2 days, so it was probably the 7th day of school.
Okay, so
we're
it's
out
like
there.
a slow build in. Like,
It's a slow build for the kindergarten. So now they're out there. But we do have a lot of staff out there. We've got like our para educators that are one-on-one with students. They're out there, keeping an eye on them. So we've got a lot of hands on deck to support. The other thing, I'm glad you asked that question too, because the other thing we're implementing is Ashley Starkey, who does a great job in our library, our school librarian. She's allowing for students to come in when they get off the bus on, like, I think it's Fridays. She's going to meet students off the bus that they want to come down and check out books during the morning recess. And then on Mondays, students that do carpool will get the opportunity to do the same, just so she can gather students. So that's another feature we have during the morning recess. For going back to the environmental science question, some of the curriculum I can tell you right now is there'll be a gardening project. They're doing some trails. Recently, they've been looking at the leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's gonna be a little bit of life science in there and some physical science, but mostly we're trying to get outdoors when we can.
Right, so just kind of using like what's already around, following the seasons through, that kind of thing.
Yep, and Mrs. LaFlamme is also partnering with the teachers to support them with their curriculum in the classroom.
Great.
So, which is, I think, a win-win all the way around. So,
Thank you.
I don't know
Can
if
I
Mrs.
just-
Peters
I now
you
have,
Oh,
I now have leaves on my desk at home from my child.
what's that?
Brought leaves home for me
Oh,
because she
yes.
thought
Actually, I
that
don't
they
think
were
she's gone yet.
beautiful and I would and she learned about them that
I'm
day,
sure I
and
would
so
get
now they're
Nice.
on my desk. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, it was cute because yesterday I was with one of the class. I was meeting one of the classes outside, and they were just talking about that tree looks like it's alive. That one looks dead. It was just, it was great. It was like that's awesome. You know, so, and yeah, so that's going on.
Anecdotally, my son, that's literally the only thing my son has talked about is
Nice.
the Leaf project. Like, I ask him every day, I'm like, what'd you learn? Like, he'll talk a little bit, but like, the Leaf project, he went into like detail about like what they did and how they and like loved it. So I just like 10 out of 10
But
feedback
this is
on.
great feedback because this is a new
Yeah.
position for us. That
It
we're
is a
trying
new
to do.
position.
So
Yeah.
I think getting
Yeah.
that feedback is important for us to like mention here as
Yeah.
well. If
Yeah.
people are enjoying it.
He,
And we're lucky to be in the area that we have with the beautiful foliage that we have. So.
Yep. Yeah, I've gotten the leaves and I got the feather.
oh,
Quinn.
Imagine what we could do with environmental science at CSDA.
Oh,
that were to go
that
there.
would be amazing.
I'm on board.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank
Do
you.
it, Jazz.
All right. So on to CSDA where they're rocking it there.
Great. So, still acclimating myself with a few things, but one of the things that was really important for me to get started right away, especially with this age group, was the Wolfpack Council. So it's our student council, and we're actually meeting on Friday for the first time. The kids are really jazzed up. So we had our voting for that last week. What I told the kids is we're going to focus on this year's school spirit and building community. And I think that's going to be a theme for the year with not only the kids, but the staff and kind of who we are, finding out who we are and what we want to become as a school and what our identity could be. And the kids and their voices are going to be a huge part of that. So they're really excited for that. It's going to sound trivial, football, gaga ball, and wiffle ball. But the recess area is one of the highest leverage areas to build community within a school. And one thing I noticed is that putting structure around this for kids, and these are 3 examples, but putting structure around this for kids really helps them develop a very positive identity. And it helps them develop a positive identity within groups. A lot of times, negativity can be, the seeds of it can be planted within a football game or within a gaga ball pit or within a wiffle ball or a basketball game or things like that, or a tag game. And I'm out at all the recesses, and so I'm able to watch and support them, not only get to know them, but also support them in that they know they can come right to me and say, oh, Mr. Miller, we have this problem with this rule. Can you help us? Sure. And help build their leadership out there to say, okay, how are we going to solve this problem? What do you guys think? And that translates directly into how they act in the cafeteria and how they act in the hallways and how they act in their classrooms with their friends. Because what happens is they build these habits through these games that all of a sudden become who they are. So I'm seeing really great dividends with that this year, which is really great. Academically, we continue to focus on kids talking and processing their learning in the classroom. And you'll see that reflected in our Instagram reels. But it's really about them talking about their learning because it takes it from the frontal lobe all the way back to the hippocampus. So it sits in their brain. And so much more learning is done when kids are able to talk about it. Had a great staff meeting today. Teachers are fully on board with this. They're rocking the turn and talk in their classroom. So I'm super, super excited. And then open house, I think went really great. I didn't have a framework or a marker for what it was in previous years, but all the chairs were filled in the gym, and there were people on the bleachers. So I'm thinking that was a pretty good turnout for us. So I spoke for a bit and introduced myself and some of the things we were doing, and then had the teachers had the parents go to the classrooms and talk with teachers, and I think that went really well. Kudos to my teachers for doing such a good job. There are lots of smiling faces and everything as I talked to them when they left. I will give you one quick story. So it's not just, I know I picked out some sporting things here, but there's other stuff going on at recess too. So there is a group of 5 or 6 girls that were doing origami the other day out there, right? And so they were making the usual stuff, little dogs and things like that. And then one girl comes up to me and she has like a piece of paper. It's like probably the size of like the top of a pen. And I looked at it and I said, what is that? And she said, it's a dog. And I'm like, really? So I took a picture of it, and I'm thinking, oh, she probably knows it's this little piece of paper, look like a dog. it was like a dog. Like, I have no idea how she made that. And I'm thinking, like, she had regular hands, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, how did you get something so small? Like, she didn't have tweezers or anything, and it did. I was like, oh my gosh, that looks like a dog. It was incredible. So, you know, it's not just football or gaga ball or wiffle ball. It's kids interacting with each other in just super positive ways and sharing their gifts with other kids and just building that camaraderie of, you know, this is who we are and this is who we want to become.
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
With the Wolfpack Council, I know you had mentioned elections. If students wanted to participate, is there a way for all students to participate, even if they're like not elected by their like? Can you explain
Oh.
a bit about how that works?
Yeah, in the process. So and the way I'm going to explain it to them on Friday, I explained it a little bit in the forms they got sent home, but they are representing their peers. So they are not president of their peers. That's why specifically we don't have a president, a vice president, because no one person is above another one person. But they are representative, so they're the voice. So whatever we do in the Wolfpack Council, they bring back to their classroom. They have discussions within their classroom, and then it goes back to that person and back to the council, and then we make a decision. So other kids have asked that same question, and my response has been, you all are going to be leaders, and you all are going to step up to be leaders, because when they come back and they ask a question, it's up to you to have that voice and to give that feedback in your perspective. So
there is a way that everyone can feel.
oh, 100%. Yep, absolutely.
All right, we're excited to share that. If you haven't already seen Mr. Mars, our PE and health teacher at RMS, we nominated him last year, and he was chosen as the PE teacher of the year through the NAPERD organization. So we want to congratulate Mr. Mars on being the New Hampshire State Teacher of the Year for PE. So that's great. Congratulations, Mr. Mars.
What is he doing in that? Is he dancing?
So that was a picture I took of him a couple weeks ago,
I could not
and
figure out-
he was doing some dance with the kids, just like touching their heels, touching their toes.
Okay, I was like,
No
is he
Irish step?
dance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does look like it. And he might have been.
Step dance.
But I was like, I'm trying to grab this picture quick, and then yeah, but Mr. Mars does a great job. I've had the opportunities to see him in action. All of our staff see him in action. He's great with making connections with students and getting down to the levels, breaking down steps of, like, for instance, how to throw a ball. He breaks down things very developmentally appropriate. He's engaging. He uses music. He uses the outdoors. He uses all parts of the gym. But then, in addition to this, he does things outside. He does things above and beyond. So, for instance, he has found opportunities to work with our preschool, which is not, a required class, but he's tried to help them with that transition when they do come to kindergarten, how to do PE. He's also worked with he's done some adaptive special ed or adapted PE classes, which has been phenomenal. But then he supports us in the building in other ways, finding opportunities for students that need a break or need some sensory stimulation or movement to help them get back into class. He's doing that too. So he's a very versatile player, and he's very well deserving of this. So congratulations, Mr. Martis.
Yeah, I can say having someone who just did that transition, having it in the preschool is actually very helpful
Yeah.
because it does give them kind of like a structure that they already know. I also think it's really great because he's very perceptive to the fact that gym can be very overwhelming. It's very loud. It's very
Yeah.
echoey in that space, especially for the littles. And so I would just want to commend him on that because that's got to be tricky too to try and manage when everyone's like noise overload,
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
much noise, to kind of still make it engaging and make it fun. I think
Yeah.
is a skill.
So, and the neat part about this is when we found out that he received the award, it was also on his birthday. So it was a nice little birthday gift too. So happy belated birthday, Mr. Mars.
Huge congratulations to him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Amazing.
For sure.
Okay, so I get to do the goals. So we kind of focused our goals this year on three main areas. One for, so I can see it. One for kind of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. One for student well-being, and one for culture and climate. The numbers that go along with the bubbles kind of go along with the district goals under those areas. So if you want to refer back to that, you can see it. Our big one for curriculum is to kind of refine our school-wide MTSS models to effectively address all academic subject areas and meet the diverse academic needs of all students. So we're looking in both buildings on where are our students currently academically, what are our next best steps for instruction, how do we support that, what are the resources, people, items that we put into place to meet those needs. Right now we're in the midst of data meeting season. That's my life this week and next week. So we're looking at our beginning of the year benchmarking, seeing where our strengths and weaknesses are for students, how we're going to address that in the classroom, how we're addressing that outside of the classroom, and then what we're going to do for next steps to kind of progress monitor that growth and see what we need to do in the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. So we did a work today at the staff meeting at CSDA to kind of look at, what does that tier 1 look like? What are we doing for all students? It's some great work, and our teachers are just rocking it right now. They're all in, ready to go. Like, it's been a phenomenal start to the year. Similarly, we're going to review our second one for student well-being is to kind of review and strengthen our school-wide MTSS for behavior, to ensure consistent, effective teaching and reinforcement of behavior expectations and routines. So we've done, I think we're on day 18, 19. I need a kindergarten teacher who knows like what day of the year it is. But it's September 24th, but we've done a lot of work really already. We've had UNH come in down here at RMMS to work on some tier 1 strategies and classroom management strategies, how we can best address some of the social, emotional, behavioral needs that are, some of our kiddos, it's their first time in a school ever. So how do we help them? We're making it a new verb, right? How do we student? How do we act like a human when we're here at school, and what does that look like compared to being at home or being at a daycare or what have you. So we've been working a lot on that at CSDA. We have spent the last 90 minutes at the end of the day looking at what are our kind of Wolfpack expectations. What does it mean to be in the hallway, in the cafeteria, in the bathroom, at an assembly, on the playground? What does that look like, and what is it that we want to have the students understand, the parents understand, the families understand, that this is what we need to do to be a productive Wolfpack member, a productive student, a meeting your goals. So we're doing a ton of work on that. We've had meetings and PD and whatnot already throughout the year to see how, for some students who may need some extra support, how are we providing that? Who's providing that? How are we making the decisions about that moving forward? So even though it's only day 18, 19, we've spent a lot of check boxes already on work for our student well-being. And then finally, also a lot of work already been on this. The Brookline School District will review and refine lines of communication to students, staff, and families, and the community in an effort to ensure its effectiveness. So we had a similar goal for this last year, and a big push for that was Parent Square, being that was new for us last year. This year, we want to continue kind of letting the community in and being able to have effective communication with students, families, and the community at large, so we can kind of brag and show all the cool things and great work that we're doing. And a big part of that this year in the push is our Instagram Reels. So we're gonna, as you notice, we have we're doing pretty well with the amount of posts that we've got going on. And we try to keep Dan off the roof as much as possible. So, but
First reel that I saw.
yes, the kids are like, Mrs. Peterson, he's on the roof. I'm like, I know. Yeah.
He hadn't watched the Slips, Trips, and Falls video
Yes,
yet.
he had not done that yet.
And I actually watched the entire video.
Yeah, he was full send, like full send. So that's one of the goals that we were working on, just to kind of portray the work that we're doing in a different manner. So there are our goals.
Can I ask a question about the curriculum instruction assessment one? Typically, MTSS, I think, the perception is that it was particular with curriculum, it's to really support those students who aren't maybe quite where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
This says all students, so are we then going to be looking at those students who maybe are ahead of where they need to be and making sure that they're challenged?
Yep, that was a huge part of our discussions this week at data meeting. So we kind of looked at all of the data as a whole in both ELA and math and saw, okay, what are we looking at for those students who are right on target? What are we doing for them? What are we doing for the students who might be a little bit behind and needs a little bit extra support? But then additionally, we have a decent cohort of students who are above the expectations already, and what are we doing for them to continue to enrich their learning, extend their learning, and to have them be challenged at school. So that was an ongoing discussion point all week, and will be next week at CSDA.
Perfect.
And I was just going to add, Meg and I and Abby have already had a conversation around, we're going to be doing some looking at the assessment tool that we're using, because one of the things that sticks out is that we need more data that can make the assessment tool push those kids that are on the upper level. So we're going to be looking at trying to find a new product that would allow us to have adaptive testing.
That would be great.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions as well, is like, there are obviously gonna be some students that may not be able to take like the assessments first, so how are we getting the data we need to support them?
Yep. So, I mean, our main data right now, our kind of universal screener is the Ames Web Plus. We also at RMMS do additional data kind of collection we do QPS and letter spelling inventory and other things in the ELA realm. But then it's also what are the students doing in the classroom, because not all kids can sit and take a time test and have it effectively show us what they know, and we know that. So kind of on a student by student basis, if needed, we look at, okay, how can they show us what they know, and then we can adjust and direct their instructional best practices, so we're meeting them where they are and moving them forward. So it's not kind of one set thing, it's what the kids need.
So has everyone kind of gone through this assessment period, like have we given like the beginning assessment?
Yes, we're finally done with benchmarking. So that's my reading and math team at RMMS and the teachers at see it, like they're just amazing. So that they've been living, eating, breathing it for the last week. So now we're in okay, now we have all the data, now what? And we'll be kind of launching groups at RMMS next week and CSDA the following week.
Thank
Yep.
you.
All right. So I'm gonna let Chaz mostly take this, but at RMS we have quite the following. We've got like 243 followers at RMS, and I will say, our MD squared group had a video on there. If you haven't seen it, that has like I'm not sure if this is the name for it, but we've had 1,600 Insta hits. Do we call it hits?
Sure.
What do you call it?
Yeah.
Views.
Views.
I like Insta hits.
Call it whatever you want.
Insta. Yeah, views. There you go. But anyways, it's the one.
You can't be on Instagram unless you know what you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. But anyways,
He's a lifelong learner.
I'm a lifelong. But yeah, but I've enjoyed it, and I thank Chaz for helping me, and also Emmy from the SAU helped me as well, like learn how to use this cutting edge technology. But anyways, so one thing I want to highlight from ours is we've had quite a few posts, and one of my goals right now is to really highlight the staff that we have here on top of the learning, because we're going into a negotiation year. Our staff does a great job, and and a lot of people just sometimes don't know who our staff are. So I'm trying to highlight a different staff member. So each week in the newsletter, you'll see, click here for the spotlight, or go to Instagram. So you'll be able to see, we started with Mr. Martis, we did Mrs. Baudet, we did Mrs. Boucher, and actually, Johanna, you can tell your husband this, that we'll have Mrs. Laflamme, the environmental science. Maybe she'll give a little
I don't know.
taste of what environmental science looks like. Yeah. But anyways, that's one of our weekly things we're going to do through Instagram. So.
Yeah, and I want to give Dan props because he has, and in the whole SAU, you have the most followers.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's you.
Jealous?
I'm a close second. I'm a very close second. Very close second.
He's jealous. Like,
Yeah.
jealous?
No, not at all.
All your friends.
Very close second. Yeah, no kidding, right?
Oh, you just follow me?
He just listens for the little dings. Ding, got another one, Chaz.
Now, meanwhile, they're all his accounts that he's created.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
it's great, and I think Dan and I have been really playing off each other's ideas really good with this, and I'm not going on the roof, but him with the way he's spotlighted staff, I want to start copying that. I think that's a really cool idea. We may do it more as grade levels rather than individual people, but I think it's an amazing idea to do. And both Dan and I think, have wanted to have Instagram be a view of, for instance, when we are walking around on our rounds and going into classrooms every day, we bring our phones with us, we take pictures of things, and we put it out there so that you can see, this is like our view, like the amazing learning that's going on in these classrooms. And sometimes I'm really blown away by what I'm seeing and what they're learning. And so it's really cool that we're able to capture this here and put out the little tidbits to parents. And the feedback I've gotten is, thank you so much, this is great. It's helping us see inside the school a little bit. So we'll continue to evolve that and have some fun reels mixed in along with it too.
Stay off of Snapchat.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! There is no way. There is zero
Just implying
chance
you
of
may not
that.
be on
Yeah, no.
And if you haven't seen
No.
Chaz's academic, like the academic ones that CSD has, those are great. I think those are, to your point, it's a good snapshot of what the students are seeing and doing in the classroom, so it's great.
Oh, we forgot to tell him about
so
that.
we'll talk about that at the end.
So I do have one.
Let's Save it.
Yeah, except for the dance off. I do have a question about Instagram. So just in terms of like students, like how are we like, because we don't want to post students obviously
Yeah.
without permission on Instagram. So
So that's a great question, and thank you for bringing that up, because that's something we're going to look more to as a district going further. But what we're trying to do is capture, like Chaz had a great example one week. He had students at recess dancing with the boombox, so he got their feet. Like I've been, like there was one time I did Blue Jay Awards, and they all put their certificates in front of their face, or you'll see like a hand, or you'll see like a little small finger.
Origami, right?
Origami. So we're trying to avoid putting student faces on there,
Yeah.
just because we don't have those permissions, really. But to Chaz's point, capturing the work, capturing the staff right now, just so we can.
Yeah.
You know, at one of
Yeah.
the schools, they did do an interview, but
Okay.
it was with the students' permission and the parents'
Yeah.
permission.
Yeah.
And there was-
before
the-
it was done.
And there was one post that I did have students, but I had already asked the parents, would you be okay
yeah.
if we had them in there? Because I thought it was an important piece of it. But
Madison looked lovely coming off the bus. So I assumed
oh, I did ask her parent. But anyways.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something too. There's really easy tricks to doing that. So if I take pictures of student work, I make sure there's never names on it. You see hands, you can see kids doing. Or, for instance, I'm putting up. I put up a couple reels about Turn and Talk because I wanted parents to hear that learning. So what I do is I just focus on the board where the thing is, and then you could just hear the sounds of the kids and listen to their learning. So yeah, there's really easy ways to
I think we're
kind of
all
make it.
just concerned about privacy because
Oh,
the internet is a
100%.
wild-
Yeah,
wild
no,
Yeah.
place.
it's a really valid concern, and
100%.
so we're trying to be really careful, but it's something we're going to flush out, I think, right, Gina, at some point. maybe?
Yeah, I would
So-
also say like keeping faces off is probably a good idea because if I gave permission initially or 1 year and then I retract that, you'd have to go through the accounts to remove and make sure. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
think it's just safer in
Yeah.
the long
Yeah.
run,
Yeah.
just from a legal perspective to just
Mhm.
keep our kids.
Are there any other items that you'd like Chaz and I or Meg and Jen to maybe highlight in the future with any Instagrams? Or
I mean, I
any
think
thoughts?
it might be really helpful for parents to get a sense of what the specials are, because especially as we're building those
Sure.
programs, I think that like even just having them do like almost like your staff spotlight, but like a spotlight on the specials, so like art
Yeah.
class, music class, that could be really interesting.
Environmental science, yeah.
Yeah.
maybe a project that they're doing, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or just like this is what we do in art.
Yeah.
This is what we try to.
Yeah, so we could do more of that, like that third picture over where Mrs. Boucher is. There's, I think it's Takishimi.
Oh yes,
Ma-
I saw.
is that open house?
Yeah.
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 That was
that would-
Takimish. Yeah, I can't pronounce it right now, but I can pronounce it when I see it. Yeah, but that flowery looking project, all the students did that in art class.
Yeah.
So
Stuff like that would be great.
yeah, sure, we can certainly do that.
And one of the things that was impressive about that is that the teacher actually has an explanation of it and the artists that they're mirroring and gives them some autobiographical information about the artist that they're working to mirror.
Yeah, but this team right here had our video that we made. If you hadn't seen it, has the most hits.
Of anything ever
Anything
in the
ever.
history of anything.
Top 10 Instagram. It will be tonight because everybody's watching this right now. What's that?
I said you took down Taylor Swift. I mean, her engagement announcement was
Oh
pretty.
my! Oh, is that on there? Did I have that on there too? I do
It's
have
on
that.
Instagram. Yeah.
No, but we have one through the school too.
No, we don't.
I just didn't post it.
Come on.
All right. Good. All right, Mrs. Doloff and Mrs. Peterson, what are we doing in planning?
Alrighty, so what are we doing and what are we planning? Short answer, a lot. So a lot of curriculum stuff happening from last year into this year and moving forward. So we're going to be continuing the implementation and refinement of all of our responsive classroom pieces in classrooms, especially K-5 and into 6. Morning meeting, closing circle, but we're also doing a lot of work with our behavior specialists and BCBA, kind of talking about logical consequences and academic choice and how do we model some more. So we're working on that. We have the rollout of our MTSS interventionist position she's shared between the two buildings. She's been tremendously helpful the last couple weeks of school so far. She's great. And then we have a school psychologist intern fellow Did I get that all right? Okay. And she's also shared between both buildings, so she's been kind of Dr. Walker's right hand. So we have school psych availability more so than just having Bethany run back and forth between the buildings. Yeah. It's our first full year of implementation of the full deployment of Amplify CKLA in grades K to 3. So we did the full deployment at CSDA last year. We're deploying it fully at RMS this year. It's been really cool because we're doing units on fairy tales and animal habitations, and it's just been the content has been super exciting for the kids to learn about, and it's been fun to kind of think about some interdisciplinary projects there. We're in our second year of implementation and refinement of Eureka Math Squared at RMS. And then we're kind of in that second year of refinement of CKLA in grades 4 through 5 and Amplify ELA at grade 6. A lot of the work we did over the summer regarding math at CSDA was looking at our Envisions math program, which we've had for a number of years now, and kind of refining it and doing a reset of, okay, we've had a lot of new staff in that time. We've had just a lot of changes one way or the other. So we looked at kind of our non-negotiables of like, what is our data showing us? What did the SAS data show us? Where are some areas of strength? Where are areas of weakness? And then how we're addressing that both in the core, in our pacing, and in our MTSS pieces. So a lot of curriculum work.
So I'm still acclimating, but I can say that as far as professional development for Tier 1, the district has brought in somebody from UNH, and she's done 2 sessions, and she's really done a nice job teaching classroom teachers, the benefit of having a classroom that's inclusive and supportive of all students, and how to react when a student is dysregulated. I don't know, she's got another session, I believe, coming up, but the class, and I wanted to add also that as far as schools go, it's probably one of the more positive climates and cultures that I've experienced. So students, struggle with behaviors at times, but the setup right now with the positive teachers and the support from the administration and so forth is really something. The group that has been sort of presenting with the UNH person started this summer to develop a new behavior response and crisis team. So that's being rolled out so that if a student is in crisis or is dysregulated, there's a group of staff that can respond appropriately. And then finally, we're creating sort of regulation spaces in each building. So we have a new staff member, Mrs. Mariano at CSDA, and she's really developed a nice classroom. It's sort of a respite for kids who need space to go to when they're dysregulated. To enable them to be present in the classroom, so they can go to this space, and she is their case manager, but it's a very comfortable, safe space. The lighting is dimmed. There's spaces where they can go and regulate if they need to. They can use clay and sort of get grounded before the start of the day, and we're rolling that out at RMS as well. We've just selected a classroom and we're setting that up. So we're seeing some really positive results, sort of approaching kids as developing the ability to self-regulate and teaching them how to do it. And we're really hopeful to see some significant improvements.
Sorry, before we leave, can I ask a question, or are we
Yeah,
saving
sure.
question? Okay. Could you help me learn a little bit about the behavior response and crisis team? Are those two separate teams or together? And then just what types of things, I guess, would be behavior response and or crisis?
So I'm relatively new, so I'll tell you from my perspective. We have, for individual students, we have behavior plans as part of their IEP. And sometimes very specific about how to respond to a child that's dysregulated or having a big behavior or an emotion. There's also MTSS that is addressing behaviors, and then there's Dan, a crisis plan for students unanticipated, I guess, is that the best way to say it? There's sort of a sequence of staff that respond, but so there's individual, and then there's sort of school-wide responses. And again, it's new to me, so I'm not really.
Yeah, these are more for like our significant behaviors, like crisis type situations. Very highly escalated behaviors, and to what Jen was sharing, we have a nice team of support, built at RMS. So if there's if a student is dysregulated and it's a crisis situation, we've got a call list of who's gonna respond. There's backups in place, there's supports to allow the
Yeah.
teacher a break, tap in and out. So we've really worked hard the last year or so to put that into place.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's not always a crisis, so we are really nicely staffed. We've got 2 school psychologists, a BCBA, and a behaviorist. So, students are learning how to manage their behaviors. And so if it gets really challenging, as Dan said, there's a call made and different staff can go down. But it's sort of part of the culture to address and support students as they're moving throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think the other piece too that we really haven't touched on is, like, we've got some really, really skilled staff here, and it starts really with our classroom teachers, but also our paraeducators are phenomenal. Like, they're able to mitigate a lot of things that could arise in a crisis, and they're an essential part of our school that they don't get enough. Thanks for what they do, but we have a great team and a great skill set. There's a lot of expert staff here that could be out, presenting, but we're fortunate enough to have them here. So we're very fortunate in that respect.
Yeah, I would agree.
Alright, so it sounds too like these would be students that potential needs would possibly have already been identified. Plans would be, like, this wouldn't be necessarily a student that had not given you guys any warning or that you weren't aware of.
I would say 90% of the time. Yeah, I would say 90%. Yeah, once in a while you get that, whoa, where did that one come from? But
most of the time that we're
yeah, we've already identified it, and we have a plan in place. And then if something does happen, we're then revisiting the plan and adjusting it to make sure we meet their needs. Did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. I would say, would you guys agree, like 90% of the time? We already know about it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the word crisis is sort of a heavy word. This is all part of, learning to be students.
So the crisis part of it, okay. So we have a behavior response. Some of the people that are on our behavior response are the same that are on the crisis team. The crisis team would be a group that would come together if there's
Something more significant.
more significant. Just something that would very much disrupt the day. So.
Yeah. No, thank you. And then for the regulation spaces, these sound very nice. I wish I had one at work. Are those open for kind of any or all students, or is it kind of like what I'm hearing is the behavior response is really more for maybe a student who's on an IEP and they have something kind of identified. Crisis is for, that very much, kind of bigger thing. And MTSS is really more for all of the students who may be like having a dysregulated moment. So again, for the regulation space, is that really more for everyone, or?
So the regulation spaces are really to address a need for students with IEPs. We're really fortunate. We've got a behaviorist from Nashua who's come on board as a classroom teacher, and she's got some amazing strategies. So those are really identified for students with IEPs, and they're staffed by special educators and paraprofessionals. But we encourage all kids because we want it to be, a place that's comfortable and engaging. And they're very, very appealing. So students without IEPs are eager to go in as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
And just to jump in on that too, like the group that met over the summer and started this work over the summer, they're very invested in kind of creating mini spaces within each classroom and providing each classroom teacher with a set of tools. And I know that team is going to be working as the year goes on to discuss those strategies and resources to support the classroom teachers in each grade level to kind of make mini regulation spaces in their room, like calm down zones are sometimes called, and I believe that team is still working on that process for this year.
And I think I'd add too, the 2 school psychologists have made it a focus to work on supporting staff as well, because the work is hard being a classroom teacher, so they're really putting some time into that, which is a nice touch.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, thank you. We do ask a lot of our teachers, I think, not only to educate, but also to help teach some of those, relationship buildings or being a student, as you said. So just thank you to them and to all the work that has gone into, a lot of this kind of helping students be students, as you said.
It's great.
It's great.
Thank you. So for FY27, our budget focus, Chaz and I are gonna talk a little bit about this?
I believe at RMS, there is a lunch recess monitor right now. I'm out there by choice, and we also have teachers with coverage. It would be beneficial to have a constant person out there as well, not for safety reasons, but to maybe ease the burden of the of that duty. So that's something we're looking at, Dan, and you can speak a little bit more about
Yeah,
yours.
so we have the lunch monitor position here at RMS. It's kind of a split role because the person who does it does a great job with the lunches. That person's made wonderful connections with the students. They enjoy seeing our monitor at lunch, but he's also our security officer, like during when it's not lunchtime. So oftentimes he'll buzz you into the building as an extra checkpoint. So that's been really beneficial to have. The other position we're looking to have in our budget or to propose is Unified Arts at both buildings having 1.0 special. So right now at RMS we have a 1.0 PE teacher, we have a 1.0 librarian, and we have our environmental sciences 1.0. But our music and art is 0.5 at RMS and 0.5 at CSDA. So we're looking to see how we can increase those roles to be full-time at both buildings, because there's extra added benefits by having a full-time art teacher or music teacher. They can become more collaborative with all of our teachers to help maybe do more interdisciplinary units of study. They can support with some interventions. They can develop some stronger connections with students. There's a lot of pros to it. It will also help with retention of our staff as well, because we've seen in the last few years, music, for example, we've had 3 new music teachers in the past 3 years, and it's because of how tight the schedule is for them, because they're at RMS in the morning, they travel to CSDA, and then they're at CSDA. So it's something we'd like to explore.
May I ask just a clarifying question? So on the lunch recess monitor for CSDA, at RMS it's a split role between safety, lunch, recess. Same kind of. Is that a full time? What are we looking at for CSDA? Would it also be a similar split position? What are we looking for?
And RMS is not a full time. Just so you know, RMS is it's 10:30
Okay.
to about 2:30ish. So
Okay.
it's
So what would the intention then be at CSDA?
Yeah, and I think what I've worked with in the past, and Dan and I have talked about this a little bit, but what I've worked with in the past is having somebody out there who can be trained to work with games, and I don't know if you're familiar with Playworks and of that type of organization, but somebody who is familiar with games and teaching social skills and things like that, or training that person to be kind of a person who oversees that part and goes to different groups of kids. So it's not just another body out there, but it's actually somebody to help kids learn. This is how we interact together. So, yeah.
So, I guess my question is, would you
sorry, I didn't
only
answer.
want them for like lunch and recess, or
Ooh.
would you be looking to expand that from like a 10:30 to 2 and utilize them in another way in the building?
Well, if you're offering,
No, I'm asking what you're looking
yeah,
for.
no, I hear you.
I'm asking you what
Yeah.
you want, so we can
Yeah,
support
no,
it, right? Like, so what do you
I
want? What would
I
you like?
think ideally I'd take the most that anybody can give. I'd be like, yeah, that'd be great. I think looking at just the way things are and realistically, having somebody for that time would be
10:30.
phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
the other piece I wanted to share about that role too is the reason why we initially put in a lunch recess monitor is having the same person do those lunches. It allowed for the students to have the same expectations between each lunch too, and it was just a consistency piece too.
Okay, and then my last question, and I apologize, team. For the Unified Arts full-time, we understand the art, we understand the music, they're split between both buildings. It is a huge ask. Makes sense. Environmental science is only at RMS. Would we be seeking a third full-time for CSDA? So would we really, instead of be looking for 2 full-time Unified Arts to make sure we've got art and music full-time, would we also be perhaps looking for a third environmental science at CSDA?
Do you want me to kind of?
Yeah.
I'll start with a
I'm
little
just
bit.
kind of curious. Like,
yeah, no, go ahead, Dan.
I want to know what you're looking for so that we can
Yeah.
So-
truly like.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and it's kind of a loaded question because the 2 schools we try to be so similar in a lot of respects, but we're 2 different. So I think environmental science would be extremely beneficial at CSDA. It helps us to have the environmental science right now in RMS because we need 5 unified arts teachers so that all of our teachers get a common planning.
Right.
So I wanted to give that background. But other than that, I'm going to let it go to Chaz and Meg for that one.
Yeah, no, because it's funny because Meg and I were talking about this recently, actually, a couple weeks ago. But having a full-time librarian would be really great. She does things. I was just talking to her about the spelling bee and about these other things, and she wants to take initiative to do these things. She is only part-time, so there's only so much. But it would be great to have
Yeah,
that.
I think.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, looking at that, we were just kind of coding back and forth. I think it would be wonderful to have environmental science grow to CSDA. I think maybe not next year, but in future years. But our probably first blush would be bringing the librarian to full time, so we have more opportunities because she's I'm not sure if she's a .6.
0.6.
She's a
Yeah,
0.6.
0.6.
So either way, we're still looking for, we want 3 full-timers.
Yeah.
Is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
To
priority?
start.
What's
The priority would be
I'm gonna
art,
ask them.
music.
Okay, sorry.
and-
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, that's
What's
okay.
the
Yeah,
priority?
library would be something that I
Your
think we would
priority.
love to fill.
Yeah.
And all of this is just like a little like a preview of what's to come in the new item spreadsheet for next month. So that's what we're going to really dig into, what they've identified.
I love it.
It's like a
It's
whole
great. I
story
love
that
it.
just unfolds.
So
I
I mean,
mean,
like,
there
if
could be
I-
more, but we can't.
I mean,
Yeah, don't give many ideas.
We gotta tell the story this year, so.
I'm
I
just saying,
think-
so Chad,
Yeah.
you're saying your priority would be the library, but, so technically that would still be 3 full-time positions though?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So priority isn't really
It wouldn't be. She's
No.
0.6, so
Okay,
it would
like
be
2.4.
2.4. But the
Yeah.
0.4
Well,
is
we
expensive
go
because that
from-
includes benefits, right?
Yeah, 2.4. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It would be 1.4 additional on top of what currently is staffed. Okay. No, 'cause
2.4.
there's-
Well, no, we need another music and another
We would-
art,
we
and
would have
then
our music and art are both full-time right now, but we would need a full-time music and a full-time art.
So
on
it would
top
be-
of.
Oh,
Yeah.
I understand.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
2.4.
You had said
2.4.
It's 12 by the end of this conversation.
I thought you meant they
No,
were split
I know,
full-time.
it is a
I
little confusing,
understand
but
what
yeah.
you're saying.
Okay, and then the lunch recess monitor, that would be more of like a part-time.
Sure, like an hourly.
That'd be
Okay.
hourly.
Yeah,
Hourly.
it's- yeah.
Great for someone who has school-aged children and would like to
So-
find something during the day.
Are you plugging her?
So next, I just want to share just a thank you to the PTO. We kind of already touched on it earlier. In case you don't know, the PTO does a ton of fundraising for our schools, and in addition to the operating budget that we have that our townspeople help support, the PTO helps supplement other things such as our program. So, for instance, first grade will go to Stone Zoo for a field trip, or this year third grade's gonna be going to the aquarium, or in years past, CSD has had the Brown Center. So a lot of these programs have been supported by the PTO. Additionally, they also support with some small little projects that we'll have in the classroom. So just a thank you to the PTO because they have a meeting once a month, and they're constantly trying to find ways to support our teachers, just like the school board did for the opening days, in addition to the school board lunch for the teachers. The next day, the PTO did like a breakfast, like coffee and breakfast items. So we appreciate the support of both. But I wanted to, thank you to the PTO. And then what Chaz and I were sharing is we are playing around with the idea of in November, there's going to be a book fair here, and it's going to be a family night. And in the gym, Mr. Miller and I are going to have a friendly competition. So it's going to be a dance-off and pie eating,
Yes.
right? And we both juggle, so we're going to have a juggling contest.
Of
Yes.
course you
How
do.
weird is that?
Of
How weird
course
and
you both
random.
struggle.
Yes.
We didn't tell you guys, we were related. Just kidding.
My brother Dan.
Brother Dan. So anyways.
Can I make a suggestion for this?
Ooh,
Ready?
Sure.
The loser, the kids get to pie the loser.
I don't care.
Kids
I'll purposely
would
lose.
love it.
I'll purposely lose.
And then the winner can also get
So,
pie.
so tell your friends. This is going to have a lot of Insta hits.
I don't know what they are, but yes, I'm sure that will happen. Sure.
Anyways.
That's awesome. That'll be
And
great.
Jen, you are last.
I don't have anything else to say.
It's
gonna be a great
it's gonna be a great year.
That was the tough slide.
One more question, just that we didn't quite, how is the bus going this year?
How's the bus going?
Yeah, how
Well,
is behavior on the
they-
bus?
Huh, good question. So I would say I've probably had maybe 4 write-ups so far this year.
So not.
There's still time to
There's-
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I will say that I wouldn't say that's an accurate piece because sometimes I get write-ups.
They get delayed.
We have reports
Yeah.
from families, and then you have reports from the bus drivers because they have to drive that whale of a thing, and they can't see everything. So, but I will say our bus company does a great job communicating with us. So if there's an issue, they're always accommodating us to come over to the bus barn to review a video if they have the video, and we're in constant communication with them. But when we get it right up, we address it. But I would say it's been, from what we've heard, I mean,
Yeah.
there's been incidents, but nothing.
No, but I just know we've been trying to like build a more positive culture.
Yeah.
Like I know there's been like so I'm just curious, like if we're seeing that pay off, it sounds like we might be seeing
Yeah.
that pay off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm with the, I'm in dismissal with the buses every day. I have the kids in the gym, and I'll do reminders like today. I did a reminder with the whole, all the buses in the gym, just about my expectations and first and foremost being kind and showing kindness and this kind of good stuff. But I've been on every bus and I've talked to them multiple times, not because things are going wrong, but because things are going right. And I want them to know this is exactly what's going on. Thank you for following this. So I think that proactivity is also something that if I continually kind of just step on the bus for 3 seconds, if I walk them out and get on and say, hey guys, remember, when we talk with somebody, we're using kind words, right? Yeah, we're making people feel good, all right? And actually, the kids at RMS are so cute. I think they don't know what to make of me because I think they think I'm you.
Yeah.
Because they kind of take a double take. Like, did you grow hair? What's up? No, I don't have any. I'm saying I just have a little more than you. But they've been really cute and they've been really good. And they'll listen intently. And I'll say, hey, my RMS friends, look forward to seeing you guys soon. And they're very cute. So yeah, it's been going pretty good.
My little thinks your brothers. We think I've had to correct her a couple of times.
We're gonna.
Yeah, he is. But like this much.
So Dan's the taller one, but Chaz has the hair, so I don't know.
Oh.
I do miss my hair, John.
What is it?
I saw the picture. I knew you had hair.
All right.
Well, thank you guys
Let's
for
move on.
everything that you do. We appreciate it tremendously.
Great job.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to deliberations. The first is to see what action the board will take regarding the facilities committee charter. So I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion to approve the charter of the Brookline School District Facilities Committee.
I second.
Excellent. All in favor? Thank you.
Great.
I also would like to see what action the board will take regarding the unretained fund. The unretained fund balance. So I will make a motion to retain up to the sum of $250,000 of school fund balance from the FY25 school year as the end of year available funds allow. May I get-
Heather?
Thank you. All in favor?
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Next is to see what action the board will take regarding the proposed policy memo. So we've got a number of policies to go through tonight. We're gonna, just so that everybody is on the same page, we have a memo for the majority of all of the policies. We'll take a vote on that one, and then we do have a separate, motion in here somewhere for a standalone memo, from the policy committee. So I will turn that over to who to present the policy memo.
Doc, that's yours.
Okay, there you go. Floor is yours.
All right, I think we have this broken down into categories, so I will read through all of it, and then if there's one that you want to go back to, then we can do that. All right, so we do have two sections of the memo. Section A is the bulk of the policies, and we're presenting two for a second reading and adopt because they're only minor grammatical changes. So we have BDE, board committees. This change was just to add 2 words to the first sentence, board and subcommittees. And then JICJ, which is the unauthorized communication devices, also known as the bell-to-bell cell phone. We had no changes. Actually, I think there was one minor change to that, where it was just a word that was added, but no substantive changes. We are then presenting, why don't we do those two first, because the rest of them are new
Yeah, I was gonna say the rest.
first
I feel like we have
times.
to,
Yeah.
acknowledge,
So if we could have a motion,
Wait, there was changes on the GIs.
Yeah,
There was.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I had a couple things
So-
about.
there were more than just a couple words, just making on JICJ.
Like under like D4.
Yeah, we added we had talked about that at the last meeting, that we wanted to add the fourth consequence in so that it reflected the language that was in the student handbook. So that
Yeah.
is what the change is.
It's just the grammar. You have to take off when it says third offenses. It should just be offense. So you just need to take off the S.
That's a good catch.
Yeah, we had caught that before, it just didn't make it into the final.
Cool.
So I think there's some additional language. So this one's tricky because we're adopting a brand new policy in all 3 districts, and then one district makes a change, and then it's like, well, that's a good idea. So I don't know that JICJ is ready for adopt, but certainly second read. There was some language that we needed to add to another district that I think makes sense to go ahead and add in both Hollis and Brookline, and that just has to do with the process for exceptions and just making sure the language is aligned legally across the 3. So.
I mean, one of the discussions that we'd certainly had in policy committee about this one in particular was like whether or not we wanted to include like what the consequences were. We decided, I think, that it was helpful for at least the first year, that those may come out in the second year, but given that this is a brand new policy, we wanted to kind of have everything very clearly labeled, so that might be where you're seeing some of the most changes, is just returning to.
Yeah. No, for D, I just had the one grammar because I'm a grammar nerd. The other one, though, I think to Gina's point too, is C, the exceptions. I wasn't clear where in the last sentence, so I know that there are, exceptions for, students X, Y, and Z. It says additionally, the superintendent, blah, 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 may approve additional exceptions on a case-by-case basis or through an administrative decision with respect to student medical, disability, or language proficiency needs. Are those the only exceptions by law that we're allowed to approve or deny? So it can't be like, I just want my kid to have a cell phone?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
And so I'll share some of the language changes. The other piece, so that sentence is clarified in some of the update that I'd like to share with the policy committee. Also, the sentence right before that, where it talks about pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, instead of saying shall be exempt from this policy, that's very kind of black and white, and it talks about the whole policy. We want to alter that to be maybe exempt from portions of this policy, because again, there's, specific exceptions or accommodations, but it's only if let's say the device is allowed to be used for an exception, it's only allowed to be used for that exception. So if the student is using it for something else that's not the exception, they still are held accountable for the rest of the policy pieces. So we want to just try to sharpen up that language a little bit, so you'll see those changes next time.
So will you get us that language?
So, and also question on the consequences in section D. So the second offense is confiscation of the device for the remainder of the school day. And then the third offense is also confiscation of the device.
But the parent has to pick it up.
Oh,
So it adds to it. It's progressive.
okay, I understand. But, so this would be, just to be clear, because I think we talked about this at the last meeting too, it doesn't clarify if these consequences are daily, weekly, monthly, annually. I'm just saying, so it should be clear, because if it's confiscated for the day, they can't go to the third offense.
Yeah. It's
Right.
annually.
We had talked about it, annually, so we had verbally maybe, I think.
Right,
discussed
but I'm saying it
that,
should be in here, yeah.
And there was also discussion, and we have some language for it, of identifying exactly what the definition of an electronic communication device is. And there's some information in the technical advisory about that, so we'll have that language recommended as well for the policy committee.
We haven't had any feedback, I know when you came to, Allison, did you close public?
I didn't close public input, but it's okay.
So I'm just, that's fine, I was just saying, I know that we had been curious if we've gotten really any feedback from parents, like any concerns or feedback?
I haven't.
Everyone's been
In our
doing-
district.
From Brookline? I don't believe so.
We've had a lot of preschoolers.
Listen,
We've had some feedback From our other two districts, a little bit. I think less than I expected,
Okay.
but none from Brookline.
So no like serious concerns that have been brought up by parents that we would need, right?
Great.
Well, I would recommend then that we vote on these separately, so, we're looking for BDE board committees to move to adopt,
So do we need? to make a
second
motion?
read and adopt.
All right, I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second.
Great, all in favor? Thank you.
And then we can do JICJ just for second reading.
Just for
JI
second
Yep, I'll
reading.
make a motion for JICJ for a second.
Do we need to make?
Do we need to make a motion for that, or just for adopt?
Just a second reading, yeah.
Yeah, so
Make
do we
a
need
motion.
to make a
So,
separate motion?
we're gonna move it to a third reading, cause this is the second reading.
Right, but we have to vote on the second reading.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
Okay, so I'll motion to second, yes, to accept the second reading. I don't know.
and
Allison already.
Accept the
Oh,
second
okay,
reading
so-
and move to
Yeah,
third.
I'll accept, yeah.
second it, great, all in favor? We'll clunk
figure
our way
out
through
what you
this, I'm
want
not
me to
worried
do.
about it. Alright, so then. AB?
Then these are new policies that came from the spring update, and we're trying to get through these because the fall ones will be coming out very shortly. And so AB, the committee is recommending to go to first and adopt because this is just accepting the law that went into effect this summer.
Yes, there's literally no changes.
No
that need to be-
changes.
So
No.
I just had a question. If you could just educate me, are we not, or we are a Title I or a Title III school?
We are not
Okay.
either.
Thank
The
you.
only title funds that we receive right now are Title IIA, which is for professional development. And the one change that we will make with any of them that come through is to remove the hyperlinks. So we have to have that updated at the back. We're not gonna keep the hyperlinks in.
You wanna vote on these individually? Okay, so I will make a motion to complete the first read and adopt policy AB, New Hampshire Parental Bill of Rights.
I'll second.
Thank you, all in favor? Excellent.
The next two that are being recommended are for a first reading and adopt because they're very minor changes. For school safety program, it is a sentence that's being added in three places, but it refers to the same area in each of the three places. And that's to add in, hold on a minute, that's the next
Oh,
one,
the
yeah.
AED one.
This is just one law reference that's being added in and expanding the definition of school property. So it's in number 2.
And so the committee did have a pretty robust conversation about like what that would look like, what proper supervision would look like. I think we had questions about liability, so we were gonna check in on like liability issues, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Is that around the AED?
That part of that's
Yes.
part of it, and
Yeah.
then just like about like when like outside like fields or like community events, things
Yeah.
like that.
They're not considered school
Right,
events.
okay, so
Right.
that's.
So I can give you an update on the AED, so actually the principals and we all met today, and in our facility use that we share out with all the groups that use our schools, we share with them the different annexes, like the different safety procedures, but in there, we also listed where each school's AED is located, so that
Okay.
there's no question
I
of
mean,
where
are
that is.
they able to get into the building though? Like if it's in the
But
gym
th-
and they're on the
We
field?
wouldn't, no, they wouldn't have access to it outside, like
Okay.
the elementary schools, they wouldn't.
So
They'd have-
but we wouldn't be required to
It's for
provide an
the schools that are
AED.
using the inside of our
Okay.
building.
So
they
if
would-
they're outside, are we required to provide? No, okay. I just wanted to.
No, they would need to call.
So, for example, our COPE where we do have athletics,
Yeah.
if we are hosting, then we are required to have one. It says readily accessible, and readily accessible is defined as 3 to 5 minutes away, by foot, by car. We don't know. 3 to 5 minutes is what the law says.
Right.
And so our trainer has one, and he has a golf cart, and we also will be placing one in like a breakaway box at the middle school because he's responsible for both properties. But if someone uses our field,
Okay.
we are not responsible for providing an AED
Okay.
for those individuals.
Yeah, just wanna make sure that's clear.
Good news is you have the fire department that is
Right.
not
Right down the
three,
street.
three
Right.
minutes
There you
away,
go.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
And the second one in this grouping was JIC, Student Conduct. This is the one that has a reference to the multi-tiered system of support B, which is for the behavioral health, which you heard our team talk about tonight. And it's in 3 places, but it's in reference to that addition to the law to bring in MTSS-B.
And we wanted both of these to be a first read and adopt.
First read and adopt.
Is there any questions about JIC? Okay, so I will make a motion to complete the first read and adopt both EBB and JIC.
A second.
Excellent, all in favor? Thank you.
Our next grouping are 4 policies that we are recommending first read. Some of them are quite lengthy and have some significant changes, some are minor, but because they are new to the district and you haven't seen them previously, we are recommending accepting the first read and moving to a second read. And that is JLIA, Supervision of Students, which did not have any change in it. JLCK, Physical and Emotional Well-Being of Students. IMBA, which is Remote Learning. This does have to have a change that was not in your notes. Section A of this needs to be removed, so it should have a line drawn through it. We do not have remote education for inclement weather days.
And that's not in the contract, right? Just to be very
That's
clear, that's why we don't
correct.
cover it, yeah.
And then IMAH, which is a change in being very specific about daily physical activities, and it's referenced in the law. So those, we're recommending that those 4 be accepted for a first read and then move to second read so that you have time to digest the changes.
So especially with the physical and emotional well-being of students, the committee felt that it was very important that everybody have a chance to read through it, figure out if there are questions. The committee certainly kind of went through some of the questions in terms particularly of like I had questions about providing regular training for staff on mental health awareness and trauma-informed practices, so we kind of talked through all of that. That is happening. It's not stated here, but that is something that's happening. But we really just think it's important, especially for you guys all to just take a look, bring feedback, because we want to make sure that everyone's kind of comfortable with where we're at.
Can I ask a question about remote learning, the policy remote learning? Are we able to put anything, or is there anything that we should think about in terms of an unforeseen situation, like maybe what we had experienced before with COVID? Are we allowed to put in anything around that, or was that state mandate, or that was like implemented by the state as a state of emergency, or?
By contract, we can't do remote learning, correct?
It's not by contract, but there's there were a lot of discussions way back. Because that first year when everybody was open again, a lot of districts thought, what a great opportunity to avoid the snow day. But there's a lot of feedback from our community that a snow day is healthy every once in a while. Get the kids outside.
No,
First
I
of all,
meant
they need
like
to
a
shovel their driveway.
catastrophic
And
event, like
and also just play in the snow, and sometimes it's a nice mental break. There's also feedback from some of our unions that there's no desire to do that. There's other complications too. Not everyone brings their laptop back and forth every day.
I'm
So-
really talking about like if God forbid we have another pandemic or something
so then
catastrophic
we go into,
happens.
So you don't know this because you weren't on the board, but back in those days, we had fun by having board meetings like every night of the week, where we were making policy changes as we needed to based on what was happening. And I'm not in favor of going back to those states of emergency times, but I think we're good. God forbid we go into that, we're going to be operating in a different fashion. And some of our regular policies don't necessarily apply.
So are you saying, so I get where you're going, so you're saying like, okay, what's our plan B? Should we already have it established so that like if God forbid that happens, we don't necessarily need to rewrite things. So is that a consideration? Or are you saying it's basically to the point where it's like just so nuanced that we wouldn't necessarily be able to be proactive? We would just kind of have to wing it.
Make decisions.
I wouldn't say wing it. I mean, we have the framework we developed was used as the model for the state. So we are fully confident in how we rolled it out. Things are different than they were before. We weren't 1-to-1 when we rolled it out, and we became 1-to-1 in a matter of 2 days.
Yep.
So we certainly have systems and structures in place to move forward. But because there wasn't a desire by the community or the staff, it doesn't make sense to write it in policy as an option, in the off chance, because like I said, in that state of emergency, sort of a lot of the policies go by the wayside. And then it's like, well, what are we doing now? And depending on regulations and requirements placed down from the state, it doesn't matter if we have it in policy. Maybe that's a no anyway. Sure.
Right, and it also depends, I mean, because there are so many eventualities for what the state of emergency could be and what the issues that could or could not arise. So I think it would be hard to plan for every eventuality, so, maybe.
Should there be like a minimum number of days to enact remote learning? Like 1 day, fine, but if, for example, something happens to the school, right, and we can't send the kids to school for a week,
I'd say like the heating system goes.
right?
out.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying perhaps at what point do we enact remote learning as the standard, right? So like, is there a minimum number of days? Because 1 or 2 days, the roads are bad or whatever, we can't, I get it, like it's healthy. But at some point it becomes detrimental to the children.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. So if there's any kind of state of emergency, we can also request from the state that we don't make up some days. Not too long ago, we had the big ice storm, and schools were shut down for 2 weeks, and we were able to recover just fine from that. So I feel like, to Lauren's point, you can't make a plan for everything, and given the circumstances, the plan would be different. So,
And if something like that happened, we'd be in a state of emergency, and at that point, everything's kind of out the window. You have to you get a pass to do what you need to do.
So that would be like, I think, because my concern would be like, if it's not in the contract, if it's a state of emergency, does that kind of like take a?
yeah, so none of that was like,
Yeah.
in our co-op, the teachers were teaching to individuals in front of them, as
Yeah.
well as those who were Zooming from home. So
Right.
they were teaching both in person and remotely at the exact same time the entire day. That certainly wasn't in the contract.
Yeah.
But through meeting and meeting and meeting, we worked collaboratively with Lori Hayes and our union presidents, and we came to an agreement on what that would look like. It was one thing for Hollis and Brookline, and it was a different thing for the co-op based on the various needs of the students and the teachers and all of that. And I don't want to go back, but I thought we worked really well together to
Yeah.
figure out how do we accomplish everyone's goals.
Well,
So, and the same would apply.
Yeah, no, and that's great. I think because I just definitely, I don't want to like run over the teachers' contracts. I want to make sure that we're like
Yeah.
being respectful of that. But obviously, like we also have to educate. So I think hearing
Right.
that we had a plan and it kind of would probably sound like the same type of plan if we had to go back would be.
Yeah.
So for this policy, I know you're gonna take out A, right? Should we also then take out number 1, above it, where it says when inclement weather makes it unsafe to safely transport students? Because we don't offer remote learning for an inclement weather day. So because it's that first paragraph gives you 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah.
And so if we're taking out A, we should also take out 1.
Yes, and we'll remember.
Thank you.
Thank
There's
you.
also in our EOP too, it's not wicked detailed, but there is a pandemic plan. So there's already like some kind of procedural stuff in our EOPs.
Yeah.
So you took what you learned and you
Yeah.
took some best practices and kind of
Yeah, there's some
documented
general things, but
and
we
gives
have
us a little
every-
bit of
to
something to
Gina's
build
point
off of.
earlier, we have everything electronic from what we had. I would say more of what we did was more procedural. I wouldn't say it's policy, but we do have a document in the EOP.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and an EOP, for those of you who don't know, is the emergency operation plan. So.
Does that answer, Tracy, kind of what you were
Well,
asking?
yeah. I just, to the point of like having a meeting every night and like what everybody went through. If there's anything that would help mitigate that or circumvent that, to help make things easier. That was really kind of what I was asking about.
Which sounds like with the EOP, they've got
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
cool.
And we can also add BEDG into this vote for a first reading and moving to a second. We just separated this out because this has significant changes. What it really does is takes the first paragraph that you see and it, the new language gets much more specific and adds a lot of detail, but it really incorporates the language that's in the top. But it's 3 pages now, so that had significant change and we're recommending that get accepted as a first read and move forward to a second.
All the
So it would be 5 policies.
on the BDG, all the underlined is new, correct?
All the underline is new.
So
What's being omitted has a line.
the
through it.
the last paragraph on that one says starting October 3rd, 2023.
Oh, we had a
so-
discussion about that. It
I
goes
don't remember
back
that
to
discussion.
that time frame, so it doesn't mean that the policy started October 23. It went back
Still, okay, yeah, that's
to
right. Okay.
incorporate what we have to do with minutes. back
You're
to
right.
that
Sorry,
time.
I apologize, but it was a long meeting. So-
That was at the end of the meeting.
yeah, and it was at the end. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have these 5 policies that we would like to look at as a first read to move to a second read. Are there any other questions surrounding these 5 or wonderings before you guys take them back to digest? Okay, so I will make a motion to accept the first read of these and move to a second for policies BEDG, IMAH, IMBA, JLCK, and JLIA.
I second.
Excellent. All in favor? Thank you.
BIA, we're just sharing with you that there were no changes, substantial changes. I think we marked off 2 commas. And so that is just being marked as reviewed and doesn't have to come to the board for a vote. The next 3 policies, EBCH, EBCH1, and JLCF, we tabled because we needed some additional information from other people, and we'll bring that to our next policy committee meeting and then back to you in the next meeting for a first read. And then we come to section B, which is policy GCQC, and we had a request to have this as a separate vote. There were no changes since the last meeting, and so we're looking for a second read and adopt.
And I will just speak to the background. The reason this was split out is because there was a request within the policy committee, not unanimously, which is why it's separated out so the board can talk about it if they need to. But resignations, this basically says that resignations tendered after July 1 won't be accepted until they can be replaced. The idea was to push that July 1 date to July 14. A lot of the discussion surrounding it within policy was that creates, there's a financial impact with that, because once the new year, the new year technically starts, the new contract starts July 1, we're paying benefits. If somebody leaves after July 1, they do have to pay those back. It becomes a little bit of an accounting thing. So there was a lot of robust discussion around that, but also we had a lot of discussion surrounding if our teachers are looking to be closer to home or go somewhere else. Generally, they are communicating with our administrators. They're aware of it. And so there was kind of a split on the agreement between July 1 or July 14. So I just wanted to give a little background as to why this one was pulled out separately.
Can I ask a question? Bear with me here. Sometimes we would consider obviously putting a provision in the teacher's contract about this. So, like, how does that interact with the policy? Like, does the policy have to match what's in the teacher contract and vice versa? Or am I getting that confused with something else?
So, there is a policy. In some of our teacher contracts, I'm trying to remember if it's in Brookline teachers or not. Like, it's the RIF language, so that when we have to do a reduction in force, sometimes it references the policy adopted on such and such date. Sometimes we print the policy in the document. So that's tricky, because then you only negotiate every however often, and then what if an update needs to be made to the policy? So it's kind of tricky. So I think it's easier if it's like the policy's just referenced in negotiations, and if then an amendment is made, then that should be shared with all members. I mean, they're supposed to look at all the policies every year, but who's really gonna read through them all?
Right.
So the right thing to do would be like, hey, this change was made by the board, and we wanted to show it to you.
Gotcha.
Um,
I thought, and maybe I'm just got my wrong hat on. I thought that this had come up in some of our contractual discussions.
So let's not talk about negotiations. However, a similar policy has been brought for, or it has existed in halls and in co-op. And a change that was made is when contracts are presented to staff members in April, the full language is printed on their contract so that when they sign it, they are presented with the language and see what it is that they're agreeing to.
That's okay. Just making sure I was just adding up. I wasn't trying to go that far. I was just trying to understand how how policies interact with the contract. So
Yeah.
Good question. Any other questions around this? This is a read and adopt?
This is a reading.
All right, I will make a motion to read and adopt policy GCQC.
a second.
All in favor? All opposed? Thank you. Is that all of them?
That's all of them.
That's all. So 2 hours late. I'm gonna go ahead and close public input at 8:10 because I just like to give extra time. Let's see. We have do we have a non-public tonight?
We
Or
have
just the
We
non-meeting?
have a non-meeting.
Okay. Do I have to end the meeting and then go to non-meeting? How does that help me on this one?
Yeah, so we're
Because-
gonna skip over the non-public. We're gonna motion to adjourn.
Cool. Who wants to have that pleasure? Do I have a second? All in favor to adjourn? Excellent. And then, do I have to make a motion to go into non-meeting?
No,
or
we're
we
gonna
just
go
go
to
to
non-meeting.
non-meeting. All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chaz, thank you for jumping in, 2 feet in the fire. We appreciate you. Dan, thanks for always rocking it.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys.
It is.
What is a non-meeting? Would like someone clear?
Okay, so a non-meeting is to have like a quick dipstick on status of negotiations. So there's no record, there's no minutes. We just say like, this is where we're at. Or like, we're wavering between a couple of things. Is there support for this? And then there's no minutes, and then we walk away. And it didn't happen, and nobody can talk about it.
So it's not considered a quorum that we're.
It is a quorum, but you can only go into non-meeting for very specific things.
Okay.
Like meet with your attorney or to talk about negotiations.
Which is why we also say in public that we're gonna go into a non-meeting. That's kind of our reference that, okay, we're going in, but it's not a meeting, so there's no meeting minutes. But it is a non-public.
Okay.